Ladies and gentlemen, the worst kept secret in IndyCar and possibly motorsport is officially out. David Malukas is going to be driving for Team Penske in 2026. And it is going to be the number 12 Verizon car. The social media post that was right here was made very clear that he's in the number 12 Verizon car. And he already has merch out. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. DM12, baby. I can first and foremost just say I'm really, really, really excited about this. I mean, for starters, David Malukas is deserving of this seat. And a lot of people in the paddock are saying this is like a Kiffin Simpson or Nolan Siegel type move. A big team's taking a risk on an unproven driver. Now you're going to have a Penske car in the back of the field. I personally completely disagree with you. David Malukas is a much better driver than Kiffin Simpson or Nolan Siegel. He's definitely got a step ahead. And we need to remember this is not the first time a Big Four team has signed him. He was supposed to drive for McLaren in 2024. Over the offseason was on his bike, fell and broke his wrist, was unable to compete until much after the Indy 500. McLaren was impatient and dropped him for Nolan Siegel. In my opinion, that has proven to be a huge mistake because if we're being honest, he should probably still be driving that number 6 McLaren car. But it is not. He came back last year in the sport in the number 66 Meyer Shank. Drove about 7 or 8 good races, and then he had the choice. Do you go with Meyer Shank or do you go with Foyt? I think what he looked at is, how do I get back to the top teams? Foyt had that Penske path, and it was probably a Penske involvement in getting him to AJ Foyt. He took that 2025, drove the wheels off the car for AJ Foyt, finished second at the Indy 500, and has landed him a seat at Penske in the number 12 Verizon car. So, that's a quick little rundown. Dave Malukas has not won a race, has not gone a pole position. What is he? He's a race leader and a podium sitter. He's probably the most unproven driver Penske has signed since Helio Castroneves, which isn't a bad thing. Helio Castroneves was an unproven driver, in my opinion, when Penske signed him in 2000. They signed him like 2000, but his first race for them is 2001. And what does he do? He shows up, and he wins the Indy 500 back-to-back. Now, I'm not saying David Malukas is going to go out there and win the Indy 500 next year, but it would be pretty cool. I am going to say David Malukas is going to win 1 to 3 races next year. I'm going to say he finishes top 5 in the points, and I'm going to say he's one of the best, if not the best, qualifier on the grid. That I will say about David Malukas, because I do think David Malukas is that good, and I think he's going to prove it. And he's clearly one of the better drivers in the paddock for teams to have signed him and have wanted him. So it's just really exciting, honestly. Like when you think about it, I mean, there's not much to say because I've talked about it so much on this channel. But Dave Malukas going to Penske is an all-around good thing for the sport. What I'm interested in is, will Penske let him be the Gen Z self that he is? If you don't know, Dave Malukas, from probably you guys watching, is very much, from the generation we are in, Gen Z. I mean, he's as Gen Z as it gets. His social media, the way he talks, the way he styles his hair. The question is Penske going to let him still be his Gen Z self? I hope so. I hope Penske doesn't, make him do this, and that, and, I hope Penske kind of changes their ways and lets him do his thing. He reminds me a lot of Joseph Newgarden when Joseph Newgarden came to the team. Joseph Newgarden has changed a lot. We'll have to see if Dave Malukas does, but I hope they let Dave Malukas do something. Another thing I want to say is, how do they get along at Team Penske? Because obviously, Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden used to be best friends. They clearly aren't best friends anymore. And Dave Malukas has been mad at Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin before. So these 3 drivers have all had previous beef. Now they don't have current beef. But if you remember in 2022, they were all 3 on the podium together at Gateway, and they were all mad at each other. Just pointing that out. And Will Power was kind of like that, like a common, like the guy that would be the referee at Penske, the common ref, kept Joseph and Scott in line. You're not going to have that with Dave Malukas. So what's the team morale going to be like in Penske next year? I think that next year is probably Joseph Newgarden's last year in Penske, so I think that could be interesting to see how it shapes out. What's also going to be interesting to see how it shapes out is, how good is Penske going to be at the Indy 500? Because McLaughlin, Indy 500 pole sitter. He's got the fastest pole time ever. Joseph Newgarden's a 2-time winner. David Malukas is last year's runner-up in an AJ Foyt car. This team's really good. Every one of these guys has an accomplishment at the Indy 500, and quite frankly, any one of the three can win. So it's gonna be exciting. I hope they don't fall off the rails, and I hope that they're able to stay good. Jonathan Dooley, is coming to be the new principal, replacing Tim Cindric. So everything is kind of changing at Penske, and I'm for the change. That's all I got to say. Now let's talk about what does this do for the driver market. Obviously, Penske now has Joseph Newgarden in the number 2, Scott McLaughlin in the number 3, and David Malukas in the number 12. Ganassi has Kiffin Simpson in the number 8, Scott Dixon in the 9, Alex Palou in the 10, Andretti has Will Power in the 26, Kyle Kirkwood in the 27, Marcus Ericsson in the 28. McLaren has Pato O'Ward in the 5, Nolan Siegel in the 6, and Christian Lugard in the 7th. Obviously, I wish Nolan Siegel wasn't keeping his McLaren seat. Ray Hall has Graham Rahal in the 15 and Louis Foster in the 45. If the reports we're believing are to be true, is that Devlin DeFrancesco is out. Yeah, Devlin DeFrancesco will not be returning to that team, even though he's got a contract. From what we're hearing and believing, that Rinus VeeKay is going to the number 30. And then Meyer Shank has Felix Rosenqvist in the 60, Marcus Armstrong in the 66. Ed Carpenter has Alexander Rossi in the 20, Christian Rasmussen in the 21. Dale Coyne, both its seats are open. We believe Dale Coyne is going to run the 18 and the 19 next year. Both those seats are completely open. Humkos Hollinger, both those seats are completely open. And do we think Stingray Rob's coming back? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Humkos has 2 open seats. I'm going to say that. I'm also going to say Prema has 2 open seats. Those lower end teams, you just never know what's going to happen with them. And then AJ Foyt, the 4 seat is open, and the 14 is Santino Ferrucci. I think the most open seat, if Rinus VeeKay doesn't go to the number 4 AJ Foyt machine, and he does sign with the number 30 Ray Hall machine, all of a sudden that number 4 seat becomes highly open. Do you see a Connor Daly jump over there, Linus Lundqvist, a Dennis Hauger? I mean, here's how I see it going. I really have a hard time believing that Rinus VeeKay isn't an AJ Foyt next year. I think right now Dale Coyne's a better seat than Ray Hall, but that's my opinion. Who knows? But if the reports are to believe true, Rinus is going to Ray Hall. I think Dale Coyne's going to have Dennis Hauger and Linus Lundqvist, 2025 and 22 Indy Next champ. I think Humkos is going to have Stingray Rob for sure. And I don't know about who's going to be alongside Connor Daly. I would say Prema stays the same, but they might need a paid driver. And if I'm being honest, they probably will need a paid driver. So you could see, I don't know. I don't really know what Prema's going to do. But I think you can, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think you can pretty much lock in Coyne's lineup. I think you can lock in Ray Hall's lineup, even though not announced. We'll just have to see. So the IndyCar silly season is going to get really silly here. It already was silly, but I think it's going to get possibly even more silly, or it's just nothing's going to happen. But we do know there's one open seat out there. It's number 4, AJ Foyt machine, and we believe both Coyne seats are open. Well, both Coyne seats are open. We believe both Humkos seats are open, and both Prema seats are open. So there's 7 seats left. 1 at Foyt, 2 at Humkos, 2 at Prema, 2 at Coyne, and 1 at Ray Hall. Oh, there's 8 seats. My bad, math. So we'll just have to see how it all shapes out. That being said, thank you for watching, and see ya.